Hi, in today's video I'm going to be taking a look at MPV and how we can improve the performance of playing live streams and videos by disabling the cache. Now this might sound a bit counterintuitive, but I'm going to go through and show you the reasons why you want to do this. So first of all, what we're going to do is come across to mpv.io, which is the site for MPV, and this is a video player that works on Mac, Windows, Linux, Unix. And what it does is it uses YTDLP, which is a fork of YouTube DL, in the back end so that it can support hundreds of sites. So if you come across and search for YTDLP supported sites, you'll come across this list. And this is the list of all the video sites that are supported by MPV using YTDLP in the back end. So on the MPV site, what we're going to do is come across to the reference here. And this is going to take us to a page where we can then go to the manual. So we'll go to stable release HTML. And what we're going to do is search for -- cache. And let me just come down until I find the correct option. Okay, here, this section here, cache. So this is what we're going to be looking at. And what we're going to be doing is actually disabling the cache. And that might sound a bit of an odd thing to do. You might think what I want to do is actually increase the cache, but the reason why we want to do this is particularly for live streams and also for seeking. So by default, the cache is set to auto, and this only applies to network streams. So basically streams that are delivered over the network, so it's not going to affect local playback. So decide whether to use network cache settings, default auto. If enabled, use up to cache seconds for the cache size, but limited to demux and max bytes. Okay, and what we've got down here is we've got this like cache seconds option, so you can set how many seconds you want the cache to be. Like I think it's by default it's 10 or something. What you also have down here is this cache pause option. So whether the player should automatically pause when the cache runs out of data and stalls. And what this does is basically this uses this cache pause wait. And I think what happens is basically when the cache runs out, it's going to pause for a couple of seconds and wait for the cache to fill up. What I'm going to do is actually show you what the issue is with the cache set to auto versus disabling the cache. So what I've got is in my MPV config, okay, I've got the option for cache no set here, but it's commented out. So what it's going to be doing is it's going to be using the cache auto settings. So I'll run MPV, paste in the link, and this is a link to Night of the Living Dead, which is in the public domain. And we just give that a second to kick in. So what you'll see down here the cache increasing, and you'll see this little bar going across. So what happens is I can actually seek ahead in the cache, so I can seek ahead in the cache like this. Pressing the keyboard, you can see. But as soon as I come past the cache, what you'll see is the video stalls and waits for it, and eventually it's going to kick in, and it's going to catch up at that location. So if I come across like this and just fast forward, what we're going to try and do is actually try and break it so that if I scroll back and forwards right beyond the cache, it should eventually sort of stall. Of course, sometimes during a demo things don't always go to plan, but essentially what happens is when you're scrolling back and forth, it can sort of pause and wait for a few seconds. So if I switch across and show you the same thing with an old version of Big Buck Bunny. So this is Big Buck Bunny, which is again an open source movie in the public domain. This was done about 14 years ago. So let's see if I can actually get this to demonstrate what I'm on about. So cache is filling up. If I scroll ahead, what sometimes happens is it actually will not be able to catch up. Okay, it's actually doing it, but this particularly happens on live streams. Now I've been trying to find a live stream that can actually show you. There's like a BBC live stream. I couldn't actually show that, but the issue is what can happen is as you scroll ahead. I'm not being able to demonstrate this terribly well with this. You can eventually sort of lock up because the cache has run out. I think the cache may have filled up. There's no cache here. So sometimes what happens is you're scrolling back and forth in the video. Eventually what will happen, as you can see here, it took me a while to get to this point, is that the cache will be empty and you can't go back or forward. Okay, you can see now it's kicked in. So what's happened is it's doing a sort of request at that point in the video. It's filling up the cache and it's waiting for like 5 seconds or something until the cache is filled up, and then playback resumes. So I can just try and demo this again. So you can see lagging. It's not catching up, and this particularly happens with live streams using M3U8 files. Now I want to talk about the different kinds of videos you've got. Basically what we have here is a standard link to a video file, and what you can get is by default I think what happens is when MPV starts and it starts to cache, it makes a request at the beginning of the video file. And so if you seek into that file, what's happening is it's not making the request for the cache at that point in the video. It's kind of doing it at the beginning. Now a lot of web servers support what are called byte requests, so that you can actually specify certain number of bytes into the video to seek. So that's just a little technical stuff on basically standard links for video files. That usually what happens is the cache request is made at the beginning of the file, which is why when you seek into it, you can have problems. Now on YouTube, they use what are called dash streams. And what that is that's a separate audio and video stream that are then played by the player together. And these streams are actually segmented into chunks. So instead of having a single large video file, what you have is a video that is chopped up into typically sort of 10-second chunks. And the advantage of this is it basically means that you can actually seek faster. In the sort of video player, you can actually seek ahead. So it doesn't have to download the whole video, it's just downloading these little 10-second chunks. So what I'm going to do now is actually disable the cache and try and show you the difference here. So let me just have some tea. So what I'm going to do is I'll grab the link for Night of the Living Dead again, and with the cache option, you can either set it in your MPV config, which is going to be in .config, MPV, mpv.config. You can also set up profiles. So you can set, which I'll show you later, you can actually set up profiles. So it's not applied globally, so that you can actually say profile no cache, and it will use no cache profile with that option. But what I'm going to do now is just show you how setting no cache will actually improve the performance. And so if I just come back here to the cache settings in the manual, you see you've got cache and you've got no cache. What we want is cache equals no. And if you see here, cache no, if enabled, use cache settings. Basically, if you set cache no, what it will do is it will automatically disable the cache pause setting. And what the cache pause setting does is when the cache is filling up, it basically makes it pause for like 5 seconds or something, so that you can advance. But because most streams now are either going to be like dash on YouTube or static videos that support byte range requests so that you can actually seek in the video, the cache can be kind of redundant and actually not let you seek in the video as quickly. So let me see if I can go to this. So what I'll do is play Night of the Living Dead again. To kick in. Now what I'm going to do is, you can see there's no cache here. I'll show you just how much faster seeking is with the cache disabled. So if I can come right up here, and I come back down here. This time. I'm just using the keyboard shortcuts to advance through the video. You can see there's no cache, but the seeking is much more like playing a local file. So the issue is, when you're using the cache, you can only advance through what it's cached, okay? But because most modern videos, I've been using byte range requests, or as I said, dash, they're segmented, there are live streams, actually disabling the cache will allow you to seek through the video as if it's a normal video file on your computer. Because you know how annoying it is, you're watching a video, a long video, maybe it's a tutorial or something, you want to skip ahead, they're rambling like I am now, you want to skip ahead of that, but you've got to wait for the cache to fill up. You're playing it in MPV, and eventually you might sort of advance a bit, and the cache, it runs out, and you've got to pause the video, wait for it to fill up again. Really annoying. Just by disabling the cache, you can actually seek ahead. And the advantage, as I said, is because it's actually disabling the cache and the pause. What it means is, normally when you're doing this and you've got the cache set to cache using the auto, it's going to basically, you'll seek ahead, cache will fill up, but it's going to pause for 5 seconds before you can play it. So it makes actually trying to skip through a video much more irritating. So what I'm going to do is I'll just disable that again and try and show you the difference. So this is with the cache disabled. So you can either enable this in your config or actually on the command line. So you can run, excuse me. So you can either run cache equals auto, cache equals yes, equals no, or put it in your config. So this is with the cache set to auto. Just give it a second to kick in while I drink my tea. Okay, that full screen. I'll try and scrub ahead. See, this is what I'm talking about. See, there we go. Eventually it kicks in. You might think, oh no, that's not the bit I want. I want to go further forward. I want to go back. And you'll see the performance just kind of keep scrubbing through, trying to break it a bit. So if I just come through, you can see how there's a delay versus when I disable the cache. So if I put that back, try it again, takes a second or two to kick in. Okay. Come back. You see how much faster it actually kicks in. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is show the same thing with this old Big Buck Bunny. So again, what I'll do is I'll disable. Well, I've already showed you it disabled. Now I'll show it working and then not working, as it were. So okay, Big Buck Bunny. So you, forward and backward seeking works fine in large increments or small increments. Okay, good set to kick in. Here we go. Funnily enough, the large increments seem to buffer less than the small ones, so you can advance for like 5 seconds. You can see here, like we're advancing by sort of 5 seconds, and whereas if I advance by large chunks, it seems to actually kick in quicker. Of course, it's not doing it now. We're in a demo. Hang on. I managed to break it. Okay, so I managed to break the video during the demo. See if I can actually demo that again. Give it a second to kick in. It also actually seems to videos seem to actually kick in quicker with the cache disabled. There you go. See, the small increments actually, because I think basically what it is the small increments are 5 seconds, whereas the video chunks are maybe 10 seconds. So the stream is chopped into 10-second chunks, yeah. And if you're advancing by 5 seconds, you're still advancing in the same chunk. Whereas if you're advancing by larger increments of, say, 30 seconds, it's actually skipping the whole chunks, if that kind of makes sense. See, large chunks seem to actually kick in quicker because I think it's seeking to that thing, whereas small increments seem to actually sort of take longer to actually kick in. So that's the gist of disabling no cache, and this really helps on live streams. So what you'll get is you'll get live streams that are like M3U8 files or M3U files, and those basically point to video chunks again. They'll be like TS files, you know, how you get on a DVD. So M3U files are also like dash streams in that you have a video that's chunked into small pieces. And what happens with live streams is the cache will fill up because it's using it's playing the cache, and what happens is it's making the cache request at the beginning of the video file. What will happen is you'll be watching a live stream like BBC News or something, which uses an M3U file, and what will happen is it will just stop. The cache will fill up and it won't make any more cache requests. The video will stall and you can't go backwards or forwards, and you've got to quit it and restart it. And basically, if you disable the cache for live streams, it improves the performance like 100-fold. You won't get any buffering, you won't get any stuttering, the video won't suddenly stop, you won't have to keep restarting it. So these are the options for the cache again. So by default it's going to be set to cache auto, and this is to whether to use network cache settings. If it's enabled, use up to cache seconds for the cache size, but still limited by demuxer max byte. Make the cache data seekable. So what that basically means is you can seek in the cache, but when you try and seek beyond the cache, you run into problems. The video stalls, it's got to wait to catch up, got to recreate, it's got to start caching again, it's going to pause while it does that. So this is the cache seconds. You can cache on disk, the cache pause. So these are the settings that actually slow down seeking in live video streams. In that, what happens is it's going to make a new cache request. It's going to start filling up the cache, and then it's going to pause according to the settings that you've got here. So basically, every time you try and seek, it's going to have to fill up the cache, wait a couple of seconds, then you can start playing, and it's only going to play smoothly for the amount of video you've actually got cached. So this is the cache settings, and what you can also do is, if I come back up to the top and search for -- profile. So there's my flipping mouse. Okay. Yeah, profiles. So what you can actually do in your MPV config is you can create different profiles, and you can basically apply those on the command line, so that you can run -- profile equals like big cache or slow here or fast, using these examples. So you can make a profile and set cache to no, and then basically when you run MPV, you can just run MPV -- profile equals cache no, and then that will disable the cache. So you can either set this globally, like I've done in my MPV config here. So I'll just go through this first of all. What we've got is these are settings for hardware acceleration on Linux, taken from the Arch wiki. So we've got the video out GPU, using VAPI for the hardware coder. We got these two scale options. These couple of options here to sort of improve video sync. So sometimes the audio and video kind of go out of sync, and what this does is this resamples the audio. So instead of dropping frames of the video, what it does is it actually resamples the audio slightly, which you can't actually detect, but it does that instead of dropping frames. So it should make the video look smoother, and it just sort of resamples the audio. And then we've got message level here, FFmpeg equals fatal, so it just sort of hides a lot of errors. Then we've got cache no here, so this is only going to affect network streams, and as I said, this not only allows you to seek faster because there's no pausing while cache fills up, but you really need this enabled if you're watching any kind of live stream with MPV, because as I said, what will happen is you'll be watching the live stream, be playing, and then you'll see cache is empty, and it's not making any more requests to fill up the cache. You try seeking forward and backwards to fix it, doesn't work, so you've got to quit and restart it, and then a couple of minutes later it does the same thing. So live streams, you want cache no. And then what we've got down here is YTDLP format. So as I said, MPV uses YTDLP, which is a fork of YouTube DL, in the back end, so that it can play videos from multiple sites. I think I've still got that. Where did I have that listed? Yeah, supported sites. So these are all the supported sites for YTDLP. You can see hundreds of sites. So that's the setting for YTDLP. What I basically do is I just set it to play stuff that's 1080p or less, basically. I don't need 4K. And then this one down here at the bottom, OSD fractions, what that does is that shows milliseconds in the on-screen video display. And this is useful for editing, because what you can do is you can actually use MPV and seek to a particular point in MPV and get the exact time code for that particular frame. So that's what that option is in my config. And if I just come back here, This is the MPV manual that I showed you. You just go to mpv.io, come across the reference, click that link, stable there, and that takes you to this page. Go through here. This is the profile section, as I said, so that you can set the cache option for a specific profile and then activate that profile. So you can run mpv profile big cache, or whatever's listed here, or whatever name you make up. So you can put the profiles on the command line or in scripts to activate them. And again, just come across to the cache settings, search for --cache. And there we go, yeah. So this is the cache settings. And as I said, by default it's set to auto, but we're going to set it to no. And again, it just allows us to seek much faster. So let me just try doing the demo with Night of the Living Dead again. So this is with auto cache. Another thing you'll notice in the new version of MPV, it actually prints out some metadata here, like license, comments, title. Okay, so you can see the cache is increasing, little progress bar. I can seek through the cache like that. But as soon as I start going ahead, cache 0, eventually what will happen is you try and seek back and forth, it will actually stall like there, okay? So it will eventually sort of stall, so go right ahead. Sometimes it's, during demo it starts to work a bit, but yeah, you can see it's stall. So cache no, same thing. Take a second or two kick in. There we go. And this is what I was just talking about here. You can see comment, title. You'll also get that come up for YouTube videos. So as you can see here, there's no cache. Yeah, there's no progress bar. But the video is still going to play fine, yeah. And if I sort of start to seek ahead, you'll see it kicks in much more like a local video.
2 of them.
About these windows.
As I said, smaller increments seem to take a little longer to buffer than bigger ones, funnily enough. Okay, so I think you got the gist of the difference between having cache auto and cache no. I can't find any. If I can find any live streams for an M3U. Live stream M3U. So yeah, I don't know if I can find anything that's actually playable on YouTube. Example. Okay, example playlists. So if I can just find something that's an Apple, I don't know, this is just like a basic playlists. I think this is just documentation. I was hoping to find something showing a live. Okay, this is basically showing you an example of a M3U file. And they're saying M3U files are much like Dash files in that they're basically a video that has been chopped up into lots of segments, usually about 10 seconds. On M3U files, what you'll typically find is there'll be TS files, and they'll usually be sort of like MPEG 2 codec, whereas dash streams on YouTube will be like, you know, WebM using Vorbis, forget what the other codecs called, but they're basically very similar. So what I was trying to do is actually find a live stream example that I can actually play. I'll have to give up on that one, I'm afraid, but it basically what happens is when you're playing a live stream, particularly M3Us, what happens is the cache eventually runs out and it doesn't make another cache request and the video just freezes, and you try going forward or backwards and nothing happens. So actually setting the cache to no will get it to actually play smoothly. I know it's totally counterintuitive, but because it's not making any cache requests, and basically, as I said, I just come back to this. You see, what it's doing is it's like playing segments of a video. Instead of playing a whole video and caching the whole file, what it's doing is it's playing these look like 10-second segments. So it's playing this sort of link. Then after that's finished, it's then going to play the second chunk of the video. So it's only playing these 10-second sort of chunks. So having the cache enabled isn't actually necessary for this, funnily enough, and disabling it will actually get it to play these chunks correctly one after another, because typically what happens is it'll start playing this chunk when you've got the cache set to auto. It'll start playing this chunk, cache it, and then it goes on to play sort of the next one, but the cache is being set when it's making a request. It's making it from the sort of the first one, so it's not sort of making another cache request on this file. So that never actually gets to play because it's not filling up the cache, and so it's paused and it's not advancing onto the next chunk. When there's no cache, what happens is it just plays them. It will just play them one after another because it's not caching anything. It's not pausing. It will just play the sequences one after another without any pausing, without any stuttering. And I've tested this. Actually, if I come across, it's not working now, but NUFC. Okay, so Newcastle United were playing Athletic Bilbao yesterday, and on this basically uses a I don't know if it's playing now. Okay, yeah, I'll pause that. So as you can see here, what we've got is the playlists here. So you can see these are the M3U file. So this is basically how you, when you're playing a video on the web, in a player like this, you open the network inspector by pressing F12. And you come across the network tab, and you sort of refresh. What you'll find when you sort of click play is you'll see these files, these M3U files, and you can see here the type. And what you can actually do is actually copy the URL and play that stream with MPV. And the reason you might want to do this is because MPV uses hardware decoding, and typically it's going to use about half the CPU usage of actually playing the video in the browser. I don't think this will actually work. No, okay. So that stream, the stream is actually obviously ended because the game was yesterday. But this was how I was testing the no cache option with MPV on a live stream for the video. And as I said, basically the issue is when you're playing the video in the browser, what you're going to get is typically 50-60% CPU usage. Whereas if you play the video with MPV, it's going to drop down to like 20, 25, even 15, 12, something like that. So that's why you want to use MPV. But the issue I always came across trying to play live streams was that what would happen is you'd be playing it, cache runs out, doesn't make a new cache request, so the video just gets stuck. You can't go forward or backwards, you've got to quit it. And so setting the cache to no for these M3U files for these live streams will basically mean the video plays totally smoothly. So I watched the whole game for an hour and a half without any stuttering or buffering, using MPV instead of the browser. No problems at all. I've watched BBC News, which is particularly prone to stopping with the cache auto setting. Works absolutely fine, doesn't pause, there's no stuttering as it tries to load each segment. But this is basically how you find the M3U files, and of course you can also filter, so you can search for .m38. So just run the filter and you'll see here, you know, what it's actually loading up, and then you can come across, copy URL, switch to MPV. So if you didn't want to set the cache no option in your MPV config to set it globally, you just run cache equals no and then the actual link. So you can do it like that. You can, as I said, you can also set a profile. So come back to this, you search for the profile again. Okay, the profile. So again, you can basically set the profile on the command line. So you could set, you know, same thing, npv -- profile equals, you know, no dash cache, like that, and you would come back across there. You basically set this down the bottom, so run, we'll call it cache no, probably makes sense, and then just, so you can do this, so you can run it like this. So instead of setting this globally, but what happens is when you use a profile, it ignores all the other options that you've got set up here. So what you may need to do is actually copy this block down here. So you're actually duplicating the stuff, but I think there's a way where you can actually nest stuff. So you can actually have this as profile 1 and nest it in profile 2. But if I was just come across here, let me see if I can get this to work. So what you should be able to do is run mpv -- profile equals cache no, and do that, and we'll know that's work if there's no progress bar. So as you can see here, there's no cache, no progress bar. So setting the cache option in the profile works, and you can see, you know, I've got it paused actually. So you can see that works. So that's another thing you can do, is you can create your own profiles. I'll just delete that. Delete this. Oh. Okay. My MPV back. So yeah, if you have a look through the profile section and read this, you can actually nest profiles and do stuff like that. So you've got a variety of ways of setting this option, either on the command line, globally in your config, or in a particular profile, which can then activate that profile either on the command line or in a script of yours. So that's the profile section. I don't think there's a way you can actually switch profiles during playback. I'm not sure about that. But basically, come across to the mpv.io thing, go to the link on the manual how I showed you, have a look through the cache settings and the profile, and then, as I said, it will actually make playing these live streams a lot better. It really will. So try playing. If you've got a link to a live stream that you watch a lot, try it with the default options, which is going to be cache auto. Then try it with cache no. And you'll see that it doesn't stutter. It doesn't sort of eventually pause. It will continue playing because it said what it's doing is it's playing one chunk after another instead of waiting for the cache to fill up and it just pausing. So what happens is basically it caches one segment, carries on playing, goes on to the next one. Then it's not caching that segment, and so the video pauses, waiting for the cache to fill up, which it never does. So the video just gets stuck. And disabling the cache will just prevent that and just allow it to play these segments one after another as they come in without any delay. So as I said, this works particularly well for live streams, but also, as you can see, works fine for these streams. So I could try an OGG video here, which should now actually thinking about it, the type of video does matter because what you have is on H.264 MPEG streams, what you have is what's called a move atom. And what this is it's a bit of, it's something that goes at the start of the video file before the actual video that tells, that allows the video to be web streamable. So you can actually, if I open up this video in the browser here, what you'll see is when this loads up, the progress bar is going to start, and it will start filling up from here and allow you to play it. Back in the day, before YouTube, what happened is you just put up a video and it wasn't web ready. You wouldn't be able to play the video until the whole video had actually downloaded in the browser. So MPEG, MP4 files, things like that, typically have this move atom that instructs the web browser to make the video web playable. Older formats, things like AVIs, perhaps OGG videos, I'm not sure. I think OGG video should be alright, but older things like AVIs, stuff like that, typically they had to download the whole video in the browser before you could play it. That was just something I sort of thought I'd mention in case you come across it. Trying to play links to old AVIs with you know, a browser or something. But that's basically everything I wanted to cover, and why you want to disable the cache for MPV, and hopefully in the demo manage to show you why you want to do that and how it actually makes web streams behave more like local files when you're trying to seek, because you know, if you're trying to seek through a long video, it can be a pain. So let me just see if I can find, like, I've got an old Xmonad video or something that was particularly long. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So I'll play this. Shall I disable the cache first? Yeah, just disable the cache first, see if this makes any difference. So this is one of my videos, so you shouldn't get flagged. Okay, it's going to take a second in. where I mean, dash stream is usually quite good, so maybe it's not the best example. I think this one's also got chapters, so maybe that's a sort of a factor. But particularly for let me try it with another one. Particularly for older YouTube videos as well, setting the cache to no can actually help seeking in the video. This one got but as you can see, there's no cache here, but it still actually plays fine. Here we go, kicking in. So maybe that wasn't the sort of best example, but I couldn't actually find any live M3U streams that I could play, and that's where this setting really has a big difference. So cache, go through the settings, have a look through, see which one it is. It's the 8th of 29 matches down here. It doesn't have, unfortunately, I don't think it's got a link to the section. Oh yeah, oh no, there we go. Yes, it does. Pound options cache will get you to the section, so I'll actually put a direct link to this under the video, and you can have a read through there. And again, you can disable this, you can enable it either on the command line in your config or using a profile. So you've got a lot of ways to use this, and it's not going to affect local files, local playback. It only affects network streams. So I don't know if that applies to network streams, may apply to you know, things like NASes on your local network, things mounted with, you know, SMB or NFS, something like that. So if it affects that, you can just put the option in a profile so it doesn't affect local playback over network devices. I'll put the links to all this under the video, and hopefully that will improve your experience using MPV on live streams, particularly. This is a massive option, is a massive improvement over the default option. As I said, otherwise without it, you'll find live streams will just freeze at some point. The cache runs out and it will just freeze. All you can do is restart it, watch it again, and it freezes again. So just set cache equals no, either in your config or on the command line, and it will solve the problem. So that's all for now, and I'll stick links to all this under the video.